Welcome to Sports Scope, the most influential sports talk show in the nation. Stay tuned for updates and great sports content.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sports Scope. I'm your host, Robert Butler, on this 14th day of June. A lot of chatter going on in the NBA already. Denver's don't even have their parade yet. Remember, that's going to be Thursday, tomorrow, and the Joker, he's upset about that. Joker, he want to go home to Serbia. So got a great show tonight. Bradley Beal, there's a report out. He's probably going to be traded. Very good chance he's going to be traded. Man, I'm telling you, I looked at his contract. He and the games he played, Miami and the Milwaukee Bucks, they are a part of teams that are interested in that. We'll talk about that, okay? Talk about Miami Heat, what they need to get back. I'll give you a few quotes from the Heat after the game. Didn't really touch on the Heat side of things after the game. Also, Jason Whitlock, and I've mentioned him before, he had an interesting article about the globalization and the negativity. And I'll argue that of the NBA and the negativity. I'll argue pros and cons. All this came about when David Stern took over as commissioner in 1984. Ironically, the same year that Michael Jordan was drafted, plus the last episode of Undisputed. Got some soundbite from that. A few more thoughts. I touched on that last week. I'll touch again on it this week with Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp. But first, let's go ahead and get our first and only break out of the way. I'll be back in 49 seconds here on Sports Scope. Hello, Sports Scope followers. The program has seen tremendous growth since going 5 days a week. I just wanted to thank everybody for your cash contributions and sharing the program with friends and families. Just a reminder, if you want to contribute to the program, go to the Cash App, the cash sign, and Sports Scope. There are other ways to contribute to the program listed at the bottom of the screen. If you want to advertise on the program, go to sports, that is sports with an S, another S, scope, SKOPE, at gmail.com, just like it's listed at the bottom of the screen. Thank you and enjoy the program. Alrighty then, I'm back here live. Okay, now, I did get a chance to play this, but here's a few sound bites. I've got Bam here, Eric Spoelstra after the game on Monday night, Jimmy Butler, I think Gabe Vincent, Pickles is in here. So listen to what they said at the end of last night's game, and I'll talk about the rumor that they're interested in Bradley Beal, and we'll talk about that Damian Lillard-Bradley Beal debate here in just a second here on Sports Scope. But listen up, here's some sound from the Miami side at the end of the game on Monday.
No regrets from our side. Everybody, staff, player alike in the locker room, put themselves out there and put themselves into the team, whatever was best for the team.
I've had some hell of a teammates come through and compete with me and give us the opportunity to win a championship, which I still believe with everything in me that we will do as a team here, as an organization, as a city in Miami.
So I tell the guys I have no complaints, I have no regrets. You know what I'm saying?
And that's Udonis Haslem, the OG there. He's a year older than me, Pickles.
That's all I can ask for.
I'm just happy for this group.
Gabe Vincent.
Proud of this group. Very resilient, persistent. We showed a lot of heart.
So for me, man, it was a joy to get this far and have these type of guys undrafted fighting to make a name for themselves. And they fought to the finals. Came up short, but I don't care what anybody says. You can never count these guys out.
You know, You learn from losses like this. You learn from series, but also, like you said, just take into account how hard our guys fought from being AC to get this far. I got nothing but love and respect for this team.
It was just unique how we all came
Duncan
together
Robertson.
And enjoyed this run together and just had fun. I didn't want it to end tonight. I wanted to keep going, but through all the adversity we had all season, it's hard to put into words how grateful we are for the year and grateful, to be in the position we had. But, we came up short, and it's going to be a lesson that we've all learned.
Yeah, right. I'll tell you what, they got a lot of team chemistry there. I can tell when somebody's faking it. I can tell, and we're going to talk faking here in just a minute when I talk about the last episode of Undisputed. But this team again, they won 44 games, and he said, Eric Spoelstra said in another, we always want to do it the hard way. Well, let's not do it the hard way. I was looking at the Heat here, and as hard as they do play, I'll say this. They're a team that essentially they had the worst points differential of any team to ever make the playoffs. Now, they were 22nd in the regular season and three-point percentage shooting. Like I said before, they're one of those teams, they got these long droughts. That's why they lost that first playing game, right? They had these long droughts without scoring here. And they were 28th in rebounding. I mean, it's a miracle that, it's a miracle they got as far as they did. Being 20, I mean, that is sheer grit, out hustling people. They're a small team, And, like I said the other day, I mean, Bama's only 6'9", and, a lot of people, there's a report out today that Bradley Beal is they're going to work out a trade with him. There's a very good Shams Sharamia. He says that there's a very good chance here that Bradley Beal will be traded. He's the shooting guard. Now, Bill will be 30 years old. Bill will be 30 years old this year. But let me tell you this. This guy's making a lot of money. Bill, who turned, this is from The Athletic. This is they broke this story here. It says the Wizards must work with Beal to complete a trade. He signed a 5-year, $251 million max salary contract, and the team finalized this last July. Includes a no trade clause. So Bill's going to have to approve of this. All right. And Bill to block any trade. The contract also includes a 15% trade bonus. When the contract was signed, Tommy Shepard was the Wizards president and general manager, but the team's principal owner, Ted Lunas, fired these guys back in April. Bill will be 30. Will turn 30 this month, 23 points a game. He did shoot a career high 50.6% shooting from the field, but a variety of injuries. This is from the Athletic. Variety of injuries and a stint in NFL health and safety protocols limit him to 50 games. And on top of that, he played 40 the year before that. So, and his cap hit, guys, is $56 million. I've liked Bradley Beal ever since he came out of Florida. Very consistent player. He was coached hard in his college years. I want to say Billy Donovan was still there. He would probably fit that Miami culture, but you got to look at, and I've heard about throwing Tyler Hero in there. You would have to throw Duncan Robertson in there. You would have to throw another player in there, multiple draft picks. You got to be able to match that $56 million salary. Okay? That sounds crazy talk. All right? Bill would be a lot to chew on now. Bill being 30 years old. Butler, this is key here. Butler will be 34 this year. A couple years ago, Steph Curry won his last championship, and in my opinion, depending on a major upgrade, that's probably the last he's ever going to win. He was 34 years old. So Butler will be 34 come the start of the 23-24 season, and you're getting a Bradley Beal there, possibly a guy that would play, that only played 50 games last year and 40 games the year before that. Plus, you would have to fill out your bench. You would have to fill out your bench there and pay it. Now, Loomis, I think his name is Loomis. I may have him mixed up. I think it is Loomis, the owner there of the Heat. I do think. Now, remember, this team had LeBron, Wade, Bosh. They would pay the money. This owner will, Mickey Harris, I think is his name. He would pay the money to bring in Bradley Beal. There are some reports that Damian Lillard could get traded. And then now Portland's kind of backtracking, saying we're not sure if we're going to trade him right now. There's some conflicting reports there. Believe it or not, folks, I looked this up. It took me a while to really dig into the numbers here. It took a lot of prep time for today's program. In the summer, you really had to work that much harder for content. But I did find out that Damian Lillard will be 33 this year. Lillard averages 25 points a game. And guess that Lillard's way better player. I mean, I like Bradley Beal, but Damian Lillard, 25-point game and average there. And guess what, folks? He's $46 million. He's practically $10 million cheaper than Bradley Beal. That tells you how many players are overpaid in the NBA. No wonder they don't play hard half the time, Pickles. And Pickles calls him a money shooter. Yeah, Lillard. Now, like I said, that 50.6% could shoot, that would be money. But remember, you're going to have to take on the rest of this contract. He's 3 years at $50-something plus million per year with this guy's contract here. Let me make sure I got this right. Let me make sure. Okay. Bradley Beal will make 46 this year, 50, 57. With the player option in 26. Just a ton of money, man. Absolute huge contract there for Bradley Beal there. And like I said, this guy, he is this is what Adrian Wojciechowski said. Unique standing, only player with no trade clause negotiated his deal, giving him ability to control his own possible destinations. So he's going to go to contender. He's an example of a guy. He's 30 years old. He's made a lot of money already. And he's already got a big contract there. Do you think he can last? See, here's the thing. Butler don't play that much during the regular season. Maybe that's probably why they only won 44 games. But, me personally, I know that the Heat are, one of the two favorites to do this Beal deal. But if you start really looking into this, you might want to put that on to the side because Nikola Vucevic, this team was 28th in rebounding last year. Remember, I've already told you that Bam is young. Our Bam's only 6'9". Now, Vucevic, the center for the Bulls, he's also in his 30s. All right. You're talking 17 and 11 on his average. All right. You're looking at a guy like that. He's 17 and 11. He's a restricted free agent. Could you just go after Vucevic from Chicago, the guy who used to play for Orlando? He's played on a playoff team with the Bulls only to get put out in the first round both years. Zach LaVine, that team is not ready. That team is about as good as they're going to be. I don't think that Bull team is going to get any farther. I think Vucevic is on his last end there. And again, if it's me, I make that move for Lillard. Trade off a Hero and Duncan, multiple picks for Lillard. All right. There are some conflicting reports that maybe, remember what I said just a minute ago about Lillard, the Trailblazers, who's also 33, by the way, he's in his last. He needs that title now. Maybe we got the draft coming up in 1 week from tomorrow. There's some talks that maybe they move that 3 pick. There's a hot player right now, not named Brandon Miller, not named Victor Wembanyama, that the Trailblazers may want to that the Pelicans, the Pelicans may want to get. Okay, New Orleans. I'll probably dig into this story tomorrow, folks. But Zion Williamson, there's some speculation that maybe New Orleans trades Zion Williamson, and they may trade Zion. There's some. I'm reading between the lines. This is not exactly the way it is reported, but New Orleans likes this player, and I forgot the guy's name. It means no, never mind. He won't do nothing for 4 or 5 years. His name's not Wembanyama. Maybe Wembanyama might not do that for 4 or 5 years. But my point is, there's a possibility that New Orleans could trade Zion Williamson to Portland to play with Lillard. Lillard might not want to do that, though, because Zion Williamson, I was listening to today on Get Up, that they put a weight clause in his contract. He also signed a big deal a year or so ago. We talked about that last week, one of those 250 Supermax deals. But there was a weight clause in his contract. Then I read a report that's saying that he might want to change the scenery. I don't think that Lillard thinks he can win with this Zion Williamson. I think Lillard, who's saying, hinting at that he might want to get away from Portland. This is Scott Henderson. Thank you, Corey. Yeah, it was Scott Henderson. Yeah, and like I said, he's getting more hype than Brandon Miller out of Alabama. But those are the 3, Wembanyama, Brandon Miller out of Alabama, Scott Henderson. He's got some pretty nice film. I saw him. He's got some hops, man. That's all in speculation. Charlotte wants everything for that second pick. They've got that second pick. And plus, Jordan, there's rumors he may sell the team. He may sell the Hornets. So my whole point is all that may fall down. Miami could still be in the driver's seat. What if they just take the 3 pick, Portland? What if Portland just takes the 3 pick, trades Damian Lillard, gets a young 23-year-old Tyler Hero and whoever else, Duncan Robertson? That's still young, folks. That's young. Okay. And 4 picks, 4 or 5 first-round picks from a Miami, you move a Lillard over there, then you turn around, get a hold of Nikola Vucevic, the center there from Chicago's agent, and talk him into taking a little bit less. He's another guy. He's made some pretty good money now. Take a little bit less money here so we can all fit this team together. Then you can move Bam over there at power forward. You've got a true big man. For what I read, Vucevic is a rim protector. He's going to give you about 17 and 11. Going to give you about 17 and 11. You've got Butler. You've got Bill. You got Vucevic. You got Bam. And whoever the heck that they can come out and put in there off that bench. Remember, this team had a lot of undrafted players. They'll find some other players to fill out this roster. That's the kind of roster you can win next year. And quite frankly, with Jimmy Butler's age, the time is now. You know, like that song One Mic by Nas. The time is now. So that's the kind of move that I'm thinking, if I'm the Miami brass there, your Pat Rileys of the world, that's the kind of team that I think that 25 a game. And, you know, Lillard played 80 games 2 years ago. He's a hardcore, tough guy. Lillard, 4-year player out of Weber State. He could take some coaching. He would fit in like one of those round pegs in Miami. Then you get Vucevic up there. I think they can make that work. If they're aggressive, I think they can make that work. And I think that would make them extremely competitive in the regular season. You won't have to start off with such a difficult road as a 7 or 8 seed. You could probably get a 3 or 4 if you press, but them being an older team. Maybe because I know Boston's young and hungry. You're going to have some more young and hungry teams there. Might not get a 1 or 2, but if you get a 3 or 4, you've got home court advantage in the first round of the playoffs. You don't want to stay around that 7th seed and get that play-in crap, okay? You're an older team. You don't want to be pressing up on history and say, we want to get a 6th seed. We want to be like the 94-95 Houston Rockets and win a championship as a 6th. You don't want that, Get a better seed. But, and I read it, maybe they may go after Naz Reid. I mean, that's a big drop-off from Vucevic. I mean, if you want a realistic shot, try to put that team together. That is not impossible. I've already looked at the numbers here. It can be done. But we'll see. But like I said, 28th in rebounding. They need a real big there. And Vucevic, ironically, he's from the same. He's from Joker's country. He's from Serbia. What are they putting in the water over there? Novak Djokovic, the great tennis player who won the French Open, he's from Serbia. So that's what I'm thinking. And of course, with Milwaukee, the other team that's interested in Bill. Now, Milwaukee is the opposite. They're the number 1 team in rebounding. We've got some trade assets. Fit-wise, Bill would probably be a better fit in Milwaukee. I don't know if he want to go there, but when you're playing with a guy like Giannis, you got a new coaching staff there, all right? You got a guy like Giannis there. You know how good Giannis is. He's going to make everybody better. He says the last interview I saw with him, he's very motivated. He's a really hard-working guy. He's going to play defense. They got a new coach. They had the best record in the league last year. I thought maybe they should have gave it to him MVP at the time. They have 57 wins, but they're long in the tooth. Brook Lopez, long in the tooth, Drew Holiday. Middleton's hurt all the time. So Bill may be a better fit there. Bill's obviously, Wizards have been at time. That would be another team you kind of like to see win it. They kind of like to see win the NBA championship there. So Milwaukee, it would probably be a better fit there. But whoever takes Bill, you got to look at the last 2 years of this guy's career, look deep into those injuries. Did they shut him down because they were out of it? Was he really injured? All this has got to be depending on the health records, passing a physical. Again, this guy just signed a Supermax contract. He's going to be a lot of money. That being said, stars are fewer and farther between. Somebody will make a move for Bill. This has been talked about even way before he even signed that max contract last summer with the Washington Wizards. But so anyways, it's food for thought. More of that may develop as time goes on. We're going to have a very interesting off season here coming up. I think something will be done with Lillard. We'll may get a trade next week. The draft will be interested with those players. But again, you never know what you're going to get out of the draft. The Joker, the lowest drafted player ever to win a Finals MVP. That guy's 41st pick. All right, Giannis was not the first overall pick. He won the MVP. Steph Curry was not the first overall pick. He won the MVP. Well, that's your last 3 champions. Oh, man. Okay. So, Jason Whitlock, now, very smart guy. Don't agree with him on everything. But he's one of those people that And Clutch Points, they did put out a pretty good, interesting. They said the last 3 finals MVP have all won championships with the team that drafted them. Draft and develop. That sounds like pulling teeth, but it's still a good thing to do. You know, Giannis in 21, Steph Curry and the Joker. Draft and develop. That's your last 3 MVPs. So, okay. Now, okay. So, Jason Whitlock, longtime writer, worked with ESPN, worked with Fox. He's with the Blaze now, but really he just writes them as a contributor. This guy's totally independent. And he's saying that globalism has run sports. You know, he's this article. He says Nikola Jokic's MVP's final championship hit different, meaning that they do not feel nearly as important as his predecessors crowning the achievement. He said this isn't intended as a knock at the Serbian superstar who secured his first title Monday. It's a knock at the NBA's NBA and Nike 30-year global mission. He says last night, Joker and his teammates had perhaps the most scheduled championship celebration in history. And he talked about what I played yesterday when asked Lisa Salters how he felt about the champion. And of course, he replied, "It's good. The job is done. Now we can go home." He mentioned, he said, it's not quite Kevin Garnett, no way, saying anything is possible. And he talked about in the side of the locker room, there were no iconic moments of Joker sobbing and hugging the Larry O'Brien trophy with his dad, confronting him. And of course, Michael Jordan, after winning his first title, we obviously know about Jordan crying and just he's saying there's a lack of exuberation and exuberation and everything of that nature. He said globalism is partially blamed for the NBA's best players. He talked about the Joker, the Giannis. Joel Embiid was not American-born. Luka we know about. Shai Gilgeous Alexander, SGA. I didn't know that he was not a native. And if you want to say, hey, number 2 there was Jamal Murray. He's a Canadian-born player. If you want to add to context. Now, he didn't mention that, but I'm mentioning that. He says they didn't spend their childhoods following, think about, and learning the unique histories of the NBA. They've only had a tiny cup of coffee in America. He said the foreigners do not revere the players that made the game great. History the way LeBron, Steph Curry do. They can't, nor should they be expected to, lack of reverence. He talks about as a fun, high-paying job. He's got some points here. And he said, mentioned in the aftermath of Magic and Larry making the NBA relevant in American sports, he mentions David Stern and, of course, Phil Knight. But listen, and then he also mentioned the real purpose of the Dream Team back in '92, and this was the first year that professionals were sent overseas. The '92 Dream Team, I watched that with my dad. That was great. Jordan, Bird, he was much older. Magic, all those guys, Ewan, Stockton, Barkley. What a team, you know. And they go over and dominate overseas in Barcelona. We know what happened there. They beat everybody by like 30, 50 points. Now, here's my thing. Then he says a decade after the Dream Team, Stern and the NBA negotiated a deal with the Chinese Communist Party to make Yao Ming the number 1 pick. I don't know if that's true or not. I think Ming played well. I think Yao Ming played well. He gave Shaq a lot of crap there. I mean, he really gave Shaq a hard way to go. Just simply could not stay healthy. You know, but I'll say this. Why the globalism issue is, I think about why do players across the world want to play this great game that Dr. James Naismith invented, and I looked this up, in 1861, essentially, to keep kids in shape in northern states during the wintertime in gymnasiums. So Naismith was a physical education instructor at a YMCA international training school, now known as the Springfield College in Springfield, Mass., but he's originally from Canada. Upon the request of his boss, Naismith was asked to create an indoor sports game to help keep athletes in shape in the cold winter. And, of course, that became basketball. And he also died in Lawrence, Kansas. Yes, that's the University of Kansas basketball. He has played a big part in Kansas basketball. The guy's got to be smiling somewhere, man. You know, I think about Oprah Winfrey interviewing Pharrell, the singer, when he made his hit song back in late 2013, Happy. She's interviewing him, and she's showing people around the world liking his music, liking that song, singing the song Happy, doing a dance to the song Happy around the world, and the guy tears up. And the guy, so, you know, I've got Dave Harris is in the UK, and my show is being played on his YouTube channel. Okay. It's a compliment. It's a compliment to the game being played. Now, of course, globalism, if you want to talk about, you know, Walmart and making, as far as, you know, making shoes in these foreign countries for 29 cents an hour, whatever, cents an hour in sweatshops. I get that dark side of globalism. I get that the government side of trying to, you know, there's been theories that you want to make the one world order, globalism, that way. Well, my values aren't the same as some guys in Eastern Europe, even in London. Forget about the Middle East, China. I get that side of things. But from a sports entertainment perspective, and I understand the whole China thing and the 15%, which is just 15%, that can fall apart. I've been talking about this for years. The China thing can fall apart anytime there. That's 15% revenue that they get for showing the games over there that the NBA gets. That can fall apart anytime because of China's aggression and all that. Relations with U.S. and China, we could be in a war with them. But as far as watching the best players, watching Ohtani from Japan, I mean, who would have thought a guy can pitch that well and hit that well? That's the best player since Babe Ruth. You know, the pitcher hitter phenomenon from it's playing with the Anaheim Angels. You know, and I think about guys like Vadi Divac. You know, he's not a foreign. Foreign players like that. You know, borderline all-star players that play well. Tony Kukoc played a big part. Remember, he had he rubbed Scottie Pippen and Michael Jordan the wrong way because he was a foreign-based player. We saw that in The Last Dance. But he's also from a pretty freaking tough country. That's what that reporter said. This guy grew up in a very tough country, tough upbringing, and he handled the physicality of the NBA. These players are much more physical now than they were 20, 25 years ago. We got Dirk Nowitzki, Ichiro Suzuki Pickles. Ichiro Suzuki played for one of the better hitters in the game. He was also a Japanese-based baseball player in Seattle. So, yeah. And I think about Anthony Edwards. He's a young guy from Atlanta. He's a guy that's very young that I see that could be a big superstar. He needs to look at these guys. Look at Luka, okay? Look at the Joker, okay? Players that are really coming on, Giannis out in Milwaukee, okay? These guys are really playing well. Steph is on his way out of the league, man. I mean, he's post 35. He's going to be, 36 this year? So I do like that aspect of it, you know. Hey, competition makes us better, makes us all better. I tell you what, you know, since streaming services came along, I've said this before a few weeks ago on this program. The cable company used to be a runaround about customer service and getting back to me. When I call Xfinity now, they get right back to me because they realize, I read something the other day, 60% of people get their news digitally. They no longer watch cable news anymore. 40% of people watch. I still watch some cable news. I know a lot of it is propaganda one way or the other. You have to decipher, but 60% get their stuff digitally. You know, when we look back on the finals, so it all goes back to 1984. I had another point about that if you go back to 84, we're talking about when David Stern took over, some pros and cons of his globalization dream of the NBA. That was the year Michael Jordan was drafted. Nike, all that came together. He played like Mike. He balled out of control. We talked about the movie, the Air movie, okay? The globalization that way. I commend him for that. But I also think a con of the 1984 vision of David Stern, the former commissioner of the NBA, he wanted to market individual players. And when you start doing that, making an air quote players only league, marketing individual players, you're giving them too much power there, and they do not want to listen, do not want to be coached. We got the AAU culture. He did not emphasize enough. He wasn't a fighter, another con on him in that vision of why we have some of the problems of raising the age limits. He saw then that young players overseas are playing professional in their teens. We didn't do that here. We still have high school here. We still have college here. You know, so you get those guys that value team basketball more coming from Europe. They're more team oriented. They're more susceptible for coaching over there versus our guys, individuals. That's David Stern. I blame him for that. Okay. I blame him for marketing individual players. I blame him for not really pushing, knowing these players are too immature to play at 7, 18, 19, 20. Yeah, let them play too. I would prefer 3 years. You know, I understand we have money and all that. Well, yeah, I'm talking about the greater good of the game. Maturity. You want players to be able to come in and contribute right away, if not 2 years in, versus 4, 5 years, 6 years, 7 years in the league where you can really see a player blossom. Okay, so there's some pros and there's some cons. Yeah, the game is more global. Why do these, and that's why these salaries have exploded. But there's an interesting this viewership of watching the game all the way through. Now, remember, the game is also being streamed on YouTube TV. This stat here, 25 years ago today, 35 million people watched Jordan hit that game winner to beat the Jazz. That was 25 years ago today. You know, Darren Ravel put out yesterday, that it was 5.6 million people watched the finals. That was the best in like 4 years. And this was a great final. You guys heard me talk. I don't come up here and talk fake. And I've told you all this too, that there is a 5.47 million in. This is Darren Ravel, reporter, said the NBA playoffs across ABC, ESPN, and TNT averaged 5.47 million viewers, make it the most watched playoffs in 5 years. He acts like that's that's a good thing. But he also said the NBA accounted for 15 to the top 20 most watched programs amongst people under 50 since the start of April. But also, I'm aware that the NBA on social media, the highlights, some of the views are in the billions. Why is that? Because a lot of people have smartphones in other countries. They have they can watch stuff on social media. So in the near future, when technology gets better, more people in some of these other countries can watch it. I'm just using YouTube to watch it on their phones for a much cheaper price. I think the NBA can explode then. So there's some pros and cons there. But I do like to see the best competition, don't you? I don't like to limit competition. Are you kidding me? I want the best. I want people that are really dedicated. That's been the whole knock on the NBA the last couple of years. The social issues and all that, but that's one thing. Another big thing is load management. Players acting like they don't care, taking too many regular season games off, lagging in the regular season, no defense played in the regular season hardly, and people see that. If you don't care, we don't care. So that is part of it. There's some pros and cons to the globalization of the game, but again, I was on Mac and Jack and Jim Jeffco's show on Sunday. We were talking about how many African native players have now came over to the NFL, and they're growing number. It's like over 165. So the NFL's growing too. You've got a lot of soccer player, European guys that are kickers, So it's not as much as baseball. Of course, you've got the Caribbean players, the Dominican Republic, very big there. Obviously, Japan as well. Latin America is huge in baseball. Yeah, and here's that Chad. That's a very good point. I think LeBron, once he retires and he is 1 foot out the door, I think a lot of that negativity, and Adam Silver won't say this publicly, but I'm telling you, he brought a lot of negativity to the league. I think he wanted to put some extra emphasis on being friendly with a guy like Austin Reeves, because he realized a lot of people look at – some of my friends have told me this, in private. Man, that guy's racist, man. He's just flat out racist, And, that's not the LeBron I knew 15 years ago. This is the guy who's a friend. I've known him as a guy who was friends with Tom Brady, who was friends with Mark Wahlberg, wanted to be on the show Entourage, which was based off Mark Wahlberg's life. And then somehow somebody got in his head about being in these divisive political things. And I think he got tired with just being a basketball star. So part of me thinks that stuff is, it was like a, what do you call it? It was something he tested out privately. I don't know if he's going to stay with that or not. He's been pretty quiet on it here lately. But we'll see. We'll see. He got his guy in the office now. We'll see how he acts when things change over years to come. If I'm LeBron, I'll stay out of that. Not unless I'm going to go all the way into it and run for office and don't be in that. But Adam Silver knows that LeBron's negativity, that social stuff, is a pain in the butt. Corey calls it Mr. Woke. And Pickle says the MLB is more Latin players in America. Hey, listen, man, they're just better. These guys really like to play baseball. I want people who really work their rear end off to get in this league. It's better for us, the viewer. Get up earlier, work harder. And you see that. So it's we're a very competitive country. We still won the most gold medals last Olympics. I checked when we were in Shanghai or whatever. Speaking of China, we had more medals in China. We got some competitors here. We got a lot of red blood guys. We still love football. And baseball's made some changes. I think baseball can come back. And like I said, Anthony Edwards, if he keeps his head on straight, Anthony Edwards is very young, folks. He could be a big star in this game. Anthony Edwards could be the player out of Minnesota. You know, of course, maybe in Minnesota we don't see him, but this guy's a very good. And that's the thing, you know, and kudos to Brady. You know, he got away from all that stuff. He got away from the whole mega hat and all that. And if now LeBron, here lately, he's being pretty low key. If LeBron's wise, he'll do away with it too. Not unless he wants to actually run. Jordan had the right idea the whole time. You know, he just stayed out of that stuff and kept it about basketball, because the truth of the matter is this stuff brings a lot of happiness to people. Yeah, Anthony Edwards' birthday is August 5th. He'll be 22 years old. He'll be 22 years old August 5th. He's born in Atlanta. This guy's huge, man. He could be a really good player, you know. And of course, we got Ja Morant. I like Morant, but he's probably going to get suspended for quite some time. Okay, switching gears here, folks. Okay, so yesterday, I didn't get to play a chance because so much going on. We talked about the Undisputed, and that's the Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp show there. I wanted to play, if you just watch Twitter, you hear Shannon's response. It was his last show. He's moving on. Shannon Sharp, former NFL player. Now, Sharp used to work with CBS. From 2003 to 2014, Shannon Sharp, Hall of Fame tight end, 3 Super Bowls, I think. Yeah, two with Denver, 1 with Baltimore. He got into some sexual harassment. The lady was suing him in 2010. Thought he was going to lose his job. Case got thrown out. Somebody stood up for him. That kind of faded. But CBS ended up moving on from him in 14. And I didn't realize this, but he had been working with Skip Bayless since 2016. He's got more patience than I thought he was. 7 years with a guy like Skip Bayless, you got to have the patience of Job, like my dad would say. So here's what Shannon Sharp said when he left his last few moments here on the Undisputed yesterday. I didn't get a chance to play it.
Me and this man for 7 years. And last but not least, Skip Bayless. You fought for me, bro.
Did I?
I'm here because of you. You've allowed me to share the stage with you. You've allowed me to share the platform. I'm going to cry in the car, but I'm not going to cry now. The opportunity that you gave me to become what I became, I'm forever indebted to you. I'll never forget what you did for me. You've helped me grow more than you ever know.
Okay, this is not easy for me either. But
one more thing before you go, Skip. Okay. One more thing. All I ask is when you lay your head on that pillow at night, you know, I gave you everything I had.
You did.
I gave you everything I had.
Which is why I want to thank you.
Okay. And, you know, he gets emotional and stuff. And, you know, the guy did take his job serious, but he got a little off the rails. I told him he was drinking. It's like 6:30 in the morning there on the West Coast and getting overly upset. But here's Skip Bayless's response that you didn't hear from anybody else, but I recorded the show yesterday. You can hear it here on SportsScope. Here's what Skip Bayless said.
Which is why I want to thank you for all you have given to me. When I first took this job back in June of 2016, we had a whole nother format in mind until it became clear Shannon Sharp is available. And I said, I believe he can do this. And did you ever? The critics just savaged us when we first started. Undisputed will never last. FS1 will never last. Did we ever show them? I want to thank you for dedicating yourself to this job. It is a voracious beast of a show, day after day after day. You dedicated yourself to this job just the way you dedicated yourself to professional football as a Hall of Famer. I want to thank you for never taking a sick day. I want to thank you for preparing as hard as you could every single day, every single topic. I want to thank you for competing as hard as you competed with me, because the greatest compliment I can give you is you were a worthy adversary. I want to thank you and tell you that I love you for what you have done for me. And Shannon, I'm going to miss our diet do bets. You owe me a lot.
I do.
I'm going to miss our LeBron battles, even though he's still the phony GOAT. I'm going to miss our Cowboy arguments. How about them Cowboys?
The phony GOAT, that's about the only thing I agree with.
From day one.
Right.
Bayless song.
In the end, I just want you to know that it was because of you. You made possible a very, very special time in my career. And this is a happy, sad moment for me because I look forward to your next great achievement, and it is coming.
Yeah.
But tonight, I just want you to know, I will toast you with a Diet Mountain Dew.
Thank you.
Diet Mountain Dew. Okay. Now, part of me, I gotta say this, part of me feels a little sorry for a guy like Skip Bayless. Let me tell you why. He's real into his work. He takes this job too serious. He takes it so serious that's why they've had some of their blow-ups over the past few months. The Damar Hamlin thing, saying the game must go on, and saying that getting personal with Shannon Sharp, saying that Brady's a much better player than he was. And, of course, I thought Sharp overreacted. This is sports talk. This is escapism. This ain't life or death, war and peace and all that crap, right? But part of me does feel sorry for a guy like Skip Bayless. He follows nobody on social media. Nobody that's helped him. No former writers. No maybe people that worked under him. Maybe the people that helped him get started. But he's been in sports writing since '76, right out of college. Right out of college. Went to Vanderbilt here in Nashville, and he's a guy that I think that really don't have any friends. He finally married the woman. He was this Ernestine lady. I read that he married her after dating for a long, long time. No kids, nothing. And he's a guy that I was listening to Charles Barkley a few weeks ago saying that, he puts stuff too serious. He takes things. He gets personal with the players, and I don't like that. But the truth of the matter is, he tried to act like he was crying there, which he wouldn't. I do think Sharp is a very emotional guy. I think he was upset, and they did help each other. I watched that show. When I started going 5 days a week, I started recording everything because I need any kind of edge I can get on content. I was recording Undisputed, First Take, Get Up by ESPN. I would get clips off Twitter or internet or whatever. I would read The Athletic, the ESPN articles, anything I can to provide content. Plus, I would record some of the games and stuff and look and make notes as I watch Red Zone on Sunday. That's all my source of information, folks. That's what I'm doing. Plus, I'm down to working 8 hours a day in a regular job to put this program together. And I find myself watching their show more when I'm preparing for my show than I would the others. ESPN, they wanted to make everything. If you start looking for social angles and everything's about race, it starts to get really, really cheesy, and it's lazy, very lazy. But some of their stuff on ESPN was okay. I've credited Stephen A. Smith when he said some things that I did agree with. When him and Michael Irvin would go back and forth in football, they would have some good stuff there sometimes. When Stephen A. would call out a basketball player, I think he was spot on. That's his strength is the NBA. He's very weak everywhere else. He wings it everywhere else. But his strength is the NBA. But for the most part, to these guys' credit, I would listen to their show more. But Skip Bayless, he's one of those people. He's a guy I don't really have any real friends other than that lady he's with. And I think Shannon Sharp's probably – now, he's built up his own podcast, Uncle Shay or something like that. He's built up a pretty good following. He probably wants to curse and act foolish. It's not a bad podcast. I've watched some of the interviews there. He's over the top, 55 years old. I think he's going through some kind of midlife crisis. That's just me. He's a little over the top for a guy at that age. But he's not got a bad show. They'll find somebody to do. And Skip Bayless, he left ESPN for a $2 million raise, and everything he said was true. I didn't think FS1 or Fox would even get close to compete with ESPN. But in 2016, ESPN started running off people. They started talking about white people. They started pushing the gay agenda and the trans agenda. They started getting so far away from sports and ruffling people's feathers, they started getting involved in direct politics. And most of the time, now sometimes Fox touched on it a little bit, but most of the time those Fox guys that ESPN, that they stole from ESPN, Colin Cowherd, Skip Bayless, Chris Bouchard, they're actually very competitive, and I find myself listening to them more often than I would actually think. They've got a few others that I don't remember their names off the top of my head, and they signed him to a like 4-year, $6 million a year, $24 million contract. Now Skip Bayless, to his defense, that guy's got a $32 million contract, Pickles. Yeah, $32 million contract. I can't believe it. And ESPN, they did that to themselves. They started getting in these Disney social issues, Pickles. And they just started running people off. The FS1 people, they're not perfect, but they didn't get in deep like that. And that's weak leadership. I've read some into it, and they've moved on off one president of ESPN. I think they'll probably move off another. A lot of guys like Dan Le Batard left. He really got deep. Jamel Hill, just one piece of crap after another. All those divisive personalities left in there. But a guy like Skip, man, he's a guy that he's built that brand up since '76. But he may be making a lot of money, and he's got his wife that he finally married. But he's a guy just don't have a lot of friends. He don't have any. I don't think he has any real friends. And I think Shannon Sharp's looking at all the. I think he kind of feels sorry for the guy, but the guy is annoying, and he's built his own brand up. I don't blame Sharp for leaving. Guy like that would get on my nerves after a long time. Sharp could go independent, or Sharp could just go solo and talk. But a guy like that will probably want to, interview players and stuff. Again, he's too. At times, he was feeling emotional about the Hamlin thing. Yeah, we all kind of felt bad about that. Of course, guy had a heart attack on the field. He's going to be back. But that's my thing. You don't want too many ex-players. They're too biased towards the players. You want a guy like me that's just going to call balls and strikes. I don't want to be too anti-player like a guy like Bayless. And I don't want to be too cushy with a player. I want to be fair and reasonable, and look at things from both perspectives. Because I do know, the various tiers. I've had him on the program. Tennessee's in the World Series, by the way. So they're going to play in Omaha tomorrow, I believe, Thursday. Yeah. So I know how hard it is. His mother told me all those camps he went to. And, this guy's a teenager. He's flying out by himself and went to different camps around the major league camps and all this stuff. And all the travel involved and all that weight training and all that stuff. It's a lot of dedication, man. It's a lot to become a pro athlete. Is a lot behind that, So I kind of do empathize with the athletes from there, and your running backs and guys like that. Short-lived. It's a hard life, but again, you're well compensated too. The flip side is you're well compensated, and you got to be well aware that this thing can be short-lived. Just put that work ethic into some other venture in life. Find something you're passionate about, and you'll be successful. And that's what I would tell any athlete. But I do empathize with them for the process. What Nick Saban would say, it's a process. So guys like Skip Bayless can be callous sometimes. Obviously, he was with the DeMar Hamlin thing. But yeah, 7 years. That's a pretty good run, man. It's a pretty good run for dealing with a guy like that. If you all like the show, share the show tomorrow. Be back around the same time. I have no idea what I'm going to talk about tomorrow. I may get into that Stephon Diggs thing again. It looks like they settled everything. Supposedly, in air quotes, Buffalo, they canceled their last mini camp. Ian Rappaport says all is good. I think they just pushed something else under the rug, and probably they can. Man, I don't know what we could do with this guy. We're probably stuck with him because we signed him to a big deal. Be $31 million dead cap hit if we let him go or traded him. And something like that could possibly happen. Me personally, his brother, I mentioned that, and I'll tell you this, and I'll let you all go, that Trayvon Diggs, his brother plays for Dallas. And maybe would you trade Stephon Diggs, for CeeDee Lamb and a future first-round pick, just so, not a first-round pick, a future draft pick, third or fourth-round pick, just so they would take that salary, give you Lamb, who's still on a rookie deal, and get that cancer out of your locker room. He's got better stats now than CeeDee Lamb, but CeeDee Lamb is a young receiver trending upward. That's something I would think about. That's something I would think about. So I may look at that story, but then again, they're going away until training camp now. So that thing may die. Stephon Diggs could go home overnight and say, you know what? I thought about what you said, and I want out anyway. So that could be a story. So there's no telling what I'm going to get into tomorrow. We'll take it day by maybe Bradley Bill's dealt to in principle. I know the new season hadn't started. Maybe Bradley Bill to be dealt to the Bucs or Portland. We can get into that, or maybe Zion Williamson's dealt. So either way, I'll be back on here 8 p.m. Eastern. If you like the show, please share the show. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. And if you can, subscribe to the podcast just to help get my numbers up everywhere. Spotify, Apple, anywhere you get your podcasts, it's Sports Scope with a K, folks. So again, have a good night. I will see you same time, same place here tomorrow on Sports Scope.